Well, Michael, the United States is saying that an announcement made by Pakistan's president is a, quote, positive step toward restoring democracy. But a key opposition leader says it doesn't go far enough. Here's an update on the crisis that's fueled days of protests in this nuclear power, Pakistan. President General Pervez Musharraf says parliamentary elections will be held by February 15th. Originally set for January, they had been suspended under the state of emergency. General Musharraf also repeated a promise to step down as a military chief, but gave no date. Opposition leader Benazir Bhutto says these pledges aren't good enough. She's going ahead with a major rally planned for Friday near Islamabad. In another sign, Mr. Musharraf may be trying to stem international anger over his emergency rule. Pakistan is easing up a bit on independent media. CNN, our network, and the BBC are both back on the air. Our Dan Rivers is in Lahore and joins us with more on today's developments. Dan.
Well, Benazir Bhutto has described President Musharraf's promise to hold elections before February the 15th as vague and insufficient. The clock is ticking to this showdown tomorrow here in Pakistan when tens of thousands of her supporters are expected to gather on the streets. As we've been finding the opponents to President Musharraf now beginning to involve the students of Pakistan.
First, it was the lawyers. Now, small groups of students are also daring to speak out, adding their voice to the protests against martial law. Some too nervous to show their face.
We feel extremely bad because it's a one-man show. What he wants to do and what he thinks is best for the country is being done.
Others were bolder, though, defying the ban on political protests. But this campus hasn't exactly been overrun by radicals. Around the rally, a drawing class continues, many just standing impassively amid the chance to hang the president.
These student leaders are making their point forcefully about the state of emergency, but so far they lack the numbers or the organisation to make any real challenge to General Musharraf.
The only person who seems capable of doing that is this woman, former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. She says she's fighting for democracy, but her critics accuse her of corruption, incompetence and of selling out after she struck a controversial power-sharing deal with President Musharraf, a deal that has now apparently fallen apart. She's threatening to bring tens of thousands of supporters onto the streets on Friday, a showdown with her rival unless her demands are met. But General Musharraf appeared to offer some concessions after a high-level meeting in Islamabad. Officials confirming martial law will only last a month, that elections will take place before February 15th, that the general will step down as head of the army.
The issue of elections, there is no doubt in my mind, elections must be held as soon as possible. Now that we have calculated all the actions, elections in Pakistan must be held before 15 February 2008 latest.
But it might not be enough. General Musharraf's opponents are incensed, claiming hundreds of lawyers, human rights activists and opposition politicians have been arrested.
No one believes this president anymore.
The United States has seen General Musharraf as a key ally in the war on terror, a bulwark against extremism. Now, though, he's looking increasingly isolated and desperate as he tries to tough out the next few days and defuse an increasingly volatile situation.
One of the key allegations by President Musharraf's opponents is that the Supreme Court that he's now appointed after the other judges were sacked is now merely a rubber stamp for his will. They say that he has corrupted all the institutions of state, that they simply can't trust what he says anymore.
Now, Dan, is Musharraf's announcement seen as the result of American pressure, or is it being perceived inside of Pakistan as a result of pressure coming from these demonstrators and opposition parties?
I think there's probably an element of both in there, but certainly the key thing that he must be realizing is there is a real danger for him tomorrow. If they manage to get tens of thousands of people onto the streets, if Benazir Bhutto manages to unite all of these disparate groups, which so far have not presented a united front, if that manages to come together in the next few days, that's a real danger for him. It's a real danger that he could be forced out of office. What Benazir Bhutto is hoping to do is to grab power, to seize the initiative here, to try and bring in some of her critics, the lawyers, the students, civil society and so on, to try and bring them all together with one voice in Rawalpindi tomorrow to say, look, enough is enough. General Musharraf has to go.
Yes, a tense situation considering he still controls the army. Dan Rivers in Lahore, Pakistan. Thank you so much for your report. Michael?